This is the Yocal Idaho Midweek Report, where we give you a quick overview of the news in Idaho for the last week. In this week's episode, we have a full one here, starting off with Canyon County Pride Festival, also the Chad Daybell trial, plus some updates about how you might be able to affect Idaho's fishing law. More on that coming up. And as I teased our first story here, Canyon County Pride Festival gets backlash. This comes by KTVB7 by Hadia Tariq. A Pride Festival is scheduled for June 9th at the Lakeview Park in Nampa. It has faced significant pushback from locals who have requested its cancellation. However, the city of Nampa has confirmed the event will go on as planned, citing the organization's protected First Amendment rights. In a controversial news release, the city stated that allowing the event to take place does not constitute an endorsement of the group's message or views, sparking criticism from some community members. Nampa Mayor Debbie Kling clarified her personal beliefs, stating that while she believes marriage is between a man and a woman, she respects the right to free speech and will not attempt to infringe upon the group's constitutional rights. Despite the controversy, the event organizer, Tom Wheeler, remains focused on having the event, which will feature live music, food vendors, and nonprofit organizations. And speaking of things staying over there in Canyon County, Caldwell City Council approves modified resolution for free veterans parking downtown. This comes by the Boise Dev by Aaron Banks Rusby. The Caldwell City Council has unanimously voted in favor of moving forward with a resolution that allows people with veterans license plates to park for free in downtown Caldwell's lots or parking spaces for up to 3 hours. The decision came after a heated discussion during the council's May 21st meeting, where Councilmember Diana Register expressed her frustration with Mayor Jerome Wagner for presenting a modified proposal to the Car Park, the city's park meter management company, without proper communication with the council. The original proposal aimed to provide free parking for all veterans, but the modified version presented to the meeting limited the benefits to specific veteran plates only in the downtown parking spaces, not lots. During the discussion, several council members, including Brad Doughty, questioned the communication process and the last-minute changes to the proposal. The council also heard from Caldwell Aviation Director Scott Swanson, a veteran himself, who expressed concerns about veterans receiving, quote, special treatment or free services, end quote. Ultimately, the council agreed to allow free parking for veterans up to 3 hours, striking a balance between honoring veterans and maintaining the purpose of the parking meters, which is to keep vehicles and people circulating in the downtown area to support local businesses.
And our next story is Chad Daybell found guilty. This comes from KTVB7 by Kara Valentine. In a highly anticipated verdict, a 12-person jury found Chad Daybell guilty of murder in the first degree on all counts after just 5.5 hours of deliberation. The East Idaho man was convicted of murdering his first wife, Tammy Daybell, and the 2 children of his current wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, Joshua J.J. Vallow, and Tylee Ryan. The guilty verdict carries a potential sentencing of the death penalty, and Daybell will be sentenced in a hearing scheduled for Friday at 8:30 a.m., as required by Idaho law in capital punishment cases. In addition to the 3 counts of first-degree murder, Daybell was also found guilty of 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit grand theft by deception, and 3 counts of insurance fraud. The case has garnered significant attention due to the bizarre circumstances surrounding the deaths and disappearances of the victims. The trial, which began on April 1, 2024 with jury selection, concluded on May 29th with closing arguments. The jury's swift decision has brought closure to this high-profile case, and the upcoming sentencing hearing will determine Chad Daybell's fate. Which, leaving the courtroom and going to the boardroom, we have ACHD's $160,000 logo and brand change sparks outrage. This comes from the Boise Dev by Don Day. The Ada County Highway District, or ACHD, has come under scrutiny for spending more than $160,000 on a recent logo and brand change, according to a Boise Dev analysis of public records. The expenditures, which totaled $178,000, including the rebranding of the commuter ride shuttle service, have raised questions about the agency's use of funds. The breakdown of costs reveals significant spending on promotional merchandise, such as $9,000 on trucker hats, almost $2,000 on branded lip balms, and $1,100 on packets of M&Ms, among other items. While ACHD argues that rebranding was necessary to create a consistent and recognizable brand identity, and that investing in employees is important, the high cost of the project has drawn criticism from some community members. The agency maintains that the funds used for the rebranding came from interest gained on investments rather than property tax or user fees. However, these interest funds go into ACHD's general fund and could have been allocated to road investments or maintenance instead. The controversy surrounding the rebranding expenditures raises questions about the agency's priorities and the responsible use of public funds, especially considering the significant amount spent on promotional items and the fact that the agency had a recognizable logo and slogan prior to the rebranding effort.
Which, if you don't like ACHD spending that much money on a logo, please hit the like button on this episode on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. It helps us reach more folks who love Idaho and don't like their taxpayer money being wasted. Now, speaking of a development that seems to be more on schedule, the Boise airport set to welcome new food and retail options to the terminal expansion. This comes by the Boise Dev by Donday. The Boise Airport is gearing up for a major overhaul of its food and retail offerings as part of its ongoing terminal expansion project. While the airport intends to continue its partnership with the current vendors, Paradis Lagardère for retail and Delaware North Company's hospitality services for food and beverages, travelers can expect to see a variety of new options later this year. Among the new additions are national brands such as Starbucks, Wendy's, Pizza Hut, and Protein Bar and Kitchen, as well as some local brand concepts like Treefort Food and Drinks, Flying M Coffee and Market, Waffle Me Up, The Still, Blue Sky Bagels, Idaho Tap House, and Form and Function. The existing Bardenay location will remain and undergo updates, while other current offerings will be replaced. The airport also has plans to reduce the size of its retail kiosk on Concourse B, converting it to vending for 24/7 operation, and adding a new 400 square feet wine bar and small bite concepts on Concourse C. These changes, subject to approval by the Boise City Council in June, are expected to be completed by October 1st, offering travelers a refreshed and diverse selection of dining and shopping options at the Boise airport, as one does. Next one here, Meridian City Council approves 263 home Jackson Ridge real estate development. This comes by the Boise Dev by Sydney Kidd. The Meridian City Council has given the green light to the Jackson Ridge Estates, a 263 home subdivision planned for the corner of Victory Road and Linder Road in South Meridian. The development, which was previously denied 2 years ago, will feature a community garden, pickleball courts, a meadow, among other amenities. The project receives support from the city staff, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and nearby residents who appreciated the developers' efforts to create a development that complements the surrounding properties and serves as a transition between the denser city lots to the east and more spread out countryside to the west. The application made several changes to the original plan, including reducing the number of homes from 275 to 263, decreasing the development size from 121 acres to 102, and including 21-acre hold lot that will be developed after the city opens a sewer shed in the area. The council members praised the developers for their creativity, ingenuity, and determination in bringing back the project despite the previous denial, with the council president, Luke Kavener, stating that it should serve as a model for single-family resident development in South Meridian.
Which, speaking of real estate, that brings us to Idaho House Speaker challenges ITD campus sale and ongoing lawsuit. This comes from the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. The saga surrounding the sale of the Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD campus on State Street, continues, with House Speaker Mike Moyle filing a brief on behalf of the Idaho House of Representatives in the lawsuit against the state of Idaho by developers Hawkins, Pacific Companies, and FJ Management. Moyle argues that the ITD campus wasn't properly put up for sale and accuses Governor Brad Little of interfering in other branches of government's power. The lawsuit stems from the Idaho legislature's decision to include language in 2 budget bills earlier this year, effectively ending the planned sale of the 44-acre ITD campus. Moyle's brief asserts that the legislature's move was within its powers to set the state's fiscal policy and that the state didn't follow its own policy when surplusing the land. The case highlights a rift between Little, the Idaho legislature, and Attorney General Raul Labrador, with the latter filing a brief in favor of the 3-member Board of Examiners without the approval of Little and Secretary of State Phil McGrain. Moyle's filing also questions the legality of the sale process, arguing that the developers lack standing to bring the case and that the legislature isn't to blame for the Department of Administration's failure to sign the paperwork before the budget bills were passed. The case is set to be heard by the Idaho Supreme Court at the end of August. But speaking of something that will come before the end of August, we have Idahoans might see another Northern Lights display in June. This comes from the East Idaho News by Sean Goodwin and Martha Quillen of the Idaho Statesman. Sky watchers in Idaho are eagerly anticipating the possibility of another Northern Lights display in June, following the stunning show that lit up the night sky on May 10th and 11th. The sunspot responsible for the strongest solar storm in decades is expected to come back into Earth's view, potentially causing the aurora to be visible as far south as southern Idaho and beyond. Scientists predict that the best chance to see the Northern Lights will be between June 8 and 12, with the highest likelihood on June 9 and 11, depending on the strength of the sun's activity. The new moon on June 6 will also help, as it won't obscure the lights if they appear. To increase the chances of spotting the aurora, Idahoans should get away from city light pollution, look north a few hours after sunset, and watch for shades of green, pink, red, yellow, blue, and violet. While it's difficult to predict space weather, the possibility of another Northern Lights display has sky watchers across the state excited and hopeful.
Which, if you didn't know about this, or you missed the last one like me, make sure to share this report so people can know about the beautiful Northern Lights that are coming and spread more news about our beautiful state. And something also related to our beautiful state that I know many of us love, including myself, Idaho anglers have until June 10th to comment on a proposed fishing rule changes. This comes by the Bonner County Daily Bee by staff. Attention Idaho anglers, the Idaho Fish and Game Department is seeking your input on the proposed fishing seasons and rule changes for the 2025 to 2027 seasons. After reviewing suggestions from anglers and gaining approval from the Fish and Game Commission, biologists have presented the proposed changes for public comment. You have until 6 p.m. Mountain Time on June 10th to provide your feedback and public comment on the webpage. Your input will help Fish and Game staff and the Commission gauge preferences and make an informed decision. The only statewide change being considered is the lowering of the bag limit for whitefish from 25 to 10, unless otherwise noted in the regulations. Proposed changes are being considered for each region, except for the salmon region. After reviewing public comments and considering agency goals, the final season recommendations will be presented to the Commission for consideration on the July 23rd/24th meeting in Pocatello. Don't miss this opportunity to have your voice heard and help shape the future of fishing in Idaho. Also related to water, Idaho Department of Water Resources issues curtailment order. This comes by the East Idaho News by Clark Corbin. The Idaho Department of Water Resources Director Matthew Weavener has issued curtailment orders requiring 6,400 junior water rights holders who pump off the Eastern Snake Plain aquifer to shut off their water. The order affects groundwater users who are not in compliance with the state's mitigation plans and could impact about 500,000 acres of agricultural land in eastern Idaho and Magic Valley. Groundwater users who have not participated in the groundwater district for mitigation purposes have 15 days to join a plan or face curtailment. Idaho Groundwater Appropriations criticized the order, describing it as the single largest curtailment of water use in state history, and warning of potential economic losses totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. Governor Brad Little supported the order, emphasizing the need to conserve water for future generations and maintaining the state's water sovereignty. The prospect of curtailment for junior water right holders is not a new issue, with water issues having been litigated in Idaho's courts for decades and a key settlement agreement reached in 2016.
And now going back to more election results, we have conservative sweep Ada County Republican Central Committee election. This comes from the Gem State Chronicles by Brian Allman. Conservatives have taken full control of the Ada County Republican Central Committee, or ACRCC, following the recent reorganization meeting held at the Boise Center. The conservative slate, led by incumbent Chairman Thad Butterworth, won all 9 positions in a clean sweep, despite challenges from the Idaho Strong slate backed by establishment groups. The conservative candidates, many of whom have been actively involved in the ACRCC for the past 2 years, emphasized their commitment to making Idaho a more conservative state. Key victories included Ryan Spoon as first vice chair, Phil Reynolds as second vice chair, and Vicki McIntyre as third vice chair. Incumbents Mike Hahn, Cheryl Hurd, and Ashley Mujagic were re-elected as state committeeman, state committeewoman, and state youth committee person, respectively. The meeting, which drew 179 out of Ada County's 197 precinct committeemen, ended with the approval of a slate of 105 delegates for the upcoming Idaho GOP State Convention in Coeur d'Alene. This outcome marks a significant shift in the largest county central committee in Idaho, which now appears to be in conservative hands. Our next story is new waste transfer station to offer expanded services for Canyon County residents. This comes from the Boise Dev by Aaron Banks Rusby. Canyon County residents will soon have a more convenient and efficient option for disposing of their trash and recycling materials, thanks to a new waste transfer station set to be built by Timber Creek Recycling. On May 17, the Canyon County Board of Commissioners approved an agreement and permit for the company to construct and manage the facility at its existing recycling site at 16933 Northside Boulevard in Nampa. The project aims to break ground in the fall and be completed by winter or spring in 2025. The new transfer station will not only provide a more central location for waste disposal, but also offer expanded services that divert waste from the landfill, aligning with Timber Creek Recycling's mission of engineering waste to its highest and best use. The facility will accept a wide range of materials, including cardboard, white paper, plastics, glass, metal, appliances, roofing shingles, and various types of hazardous waste. The company has already demonstrated its commitment to repurposing waste by engineering solutions such as using sheetrock and wood waste as cattle bedding and composting biosolids from Nampa's wastewater treatment facility. Commissioner Brad Holton praised the project, stating that it will bring efficiency and cost savings to Canyon County citizens, while Commissioner Leslie Van Beek highlighted the company's innovative approach to waste management. As the county continues to grow, the new waste transfer station is poised to play a crucial role in managing the increasing volume of waste.
And speaking of developments over in Canyon County, proposal to allow machine shops in rural Canyon County sparks debate. This comes by the Boise Dev by Margaret Carmel. A proposal to change Canyon County's zoning code to allow small machine shops in rural residential and agricultural zones with a conditional use permit, or COP, has sparked a debate among residents and officials. The proposal, filed by land use attorney and state senator Todd Lakely, would require property owners who want to operate a machine shop to undergo a public hearing and obtain permission from the county and county commissioners. While the proposal aims to provide an option for small business owners who operate out of their shops on their property, it has raised concerns about the appropriateness of machine shops in residential areas and their potential for an impact on nearby neighbors. During hearings held by the Canyon County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Commissioners, officials expressed concern about the type of materials and processes being allowed in these shops, fire protection, traffic impact on rural roads, and the potential for shops to violate COP conditions without neighbors' knowledge. The city of Nampa also opposed the proposal, stating that machine shops are an inappropriate land use in residential areas. While some neighbors of Joe Sullivan, whose machine shop southwest of Wilder promoted the proposal, expressed support for his business, others raised concerns about the safety and the compliance of existing shops. The proposal is currently undergoing revisions and review by the county staff before another vote, leaving residents and officials to weigh the potential benefits for small business owners against the possible impacts on rural neighborhoods in Canyon County. And speaking of something rural and more south of the border here, Idaho State Police troopers returned from Southern Border Mission. This comes by KTVB7 by Idaho Press staff. Idaho State Police troopers have recently returned from a 3-week mission to the U.S.-Mexico border, as announced by Governor Brad Little on Wednesday. The mission, which is part of several moves made by Little to demonstrate his commitment to border security, aimed to strengthen the cross-state law enforcement efforts and combat illicit activities such as human trafficking. Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Kelly of the ISP emphasized the importance of the mission, stating that troopers acquired invaluable insights and firsthand experience while helping to fortify border security measures. During their deployment, the 10 Idaho troopers worked alongside Texas Department of Public Safety troopers, deepening their understanding of the trafficking operations. The knowledge gained from this collaboration will be incorporated into domestic highway enforcement courses for the Idaho law enforcement officers, ultimately improving the overall safety and security of communities throughout the state. This recent mission, which cost approximately $200,000 as approved by the legislature, follows similar developments last year, underscoring Idaho's ongoing commitment to addressing border security concerns and their potential impact on Idahoans. With that said, we are done now. Thank you for listening to the entire report. I sincerely hope you found it enjoyable and valuable. I know I always do. If you like the Midweek report, make sure to check out the Sunday show where John and I talk about the main stories going on in Idaho and dive into them. This last week, we talked about a bill that made it illegal to make explicit images of minors. Plus, we broke down some fun places you can go around the state with the nice, beautiful weather. With that said, if we missed any important points or provided incorrect information, please feel free to reach out to us via email at lyimedia@protonmail.com or on Twitter by tweeting us at @localyocalidaho. With the small team we have, we're not able to cover everything, but we do our best to cover the most interesting and important stories. Thank you for your continued support and assistance. That's all for now. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Godspeed.